And welcome everyone to the last Michigan Coaches Show for the regular season, as the regular season just completed, and we are very, very pleased as always to have head coach Jenna Trebbiano with us today. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. We got practice tonight, so I'm looking forward to getting back on the ice and looking forward to this weekend.
Excellent, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, big weekend, CCWHA tournament. We'd love to see you there at the Crystal Field House in Burton, Michigan. And let's kind of go over some things for the second half of the regular season. So Michigan was 12-3-1 before the new year, and 7-2-1 after the new year. Where do you think things improved for the team the most throughout this season?
I think just the culture in general, I've noticed. I think, like we've talked about before, I think we've got a really great culture,
Yeah,
great leadership. A lot of players really stepping up and filling roles that we need to be filled. So I think we're at a point now where everybody knows their role and they're really buying into the process, which has led to success on the ice.
perfect, excellent. In the first 16 games of the season, the team only had 3 power play goals. And then in the last 10 games of the season, the team has had 12 power play goals, including 6 in 3 games out in Arizona. So apparently the desert is good for the power play. What changes? What changes have been made to make the team more successful with the advantage?
We really just every week work on our power play,
Sure, yeah.
and just moving people around, trying to see what works. Um, yeah, just Coach Joe Upton's put a lot of effort into learning the power play and translating that into our practice plan. So we're super appreciative of the work he's put in, and um, yeah, he's done a phenomenal job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think it's like you said, it's translating really well to
You're seeing
our
results?
yeah. I mean, direct results. So yeah, we're just gonna
Absolutely.
continue to work on that and teach our players what to look for and you
Fantastic.
know why they're moving the puck essentially.
Yeah, excellent. On the other side of special teams, because it's fun to talk about the goals, but the PK is very important. On the other side, Michigan's only given up 2 goals on the penalty kill in the last 10 games, with an excellent 92 percentage rate for killing off those penalties, which is tied for 4th in the nation with Indiana Tech. What's the team's approach on the penalty kill?
We It really depends on the unit that's out on the ice. So we have some players that they can chase down the puck carrier. We have some players that tend to play more conservative. So depending on who's on the ice, I think we adapt really well to the other team's power plays, and um, our forwards and defensemen alike are really good at reading the play and just really protecting the house and protecting Sandrine.
Fantastic. It's always good when you can be down a player and still really kill that off and do a good job and not end up behind the 8 ball there. Now, you played some really highly ranked teams in the new year, starting off with 2 games versus the number 9 team in the nation, Arizona State. They just won their conference, the WWCHL, and you came away with a win and a tie. What were your big takeaways from those games?
Yeah, they were both really physical games. I know you weren't able to be there, but a lot of physicality.
Yeah.
Kind of felt like we were playing Adrian a little bit.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
Um, so we really had to match their energy and match their tempo. And the game on Sunday, we knew we had to produce right away. We couldn't wait until the last 7 seconds of the game. So
Yeah.
just really leaning into that urgency in the first period. That's important in every game for us.
Sure, yeah.
We had a couple injuries in that game, which hurt us on the forward end of the bench. But just we were super resilient and we wanted to win, and we obviously did. So I think all in all, it was a successful weekend
Absolutely.
for the team, and it was fun to get away from the cold for a little bit.
Is it sometimes easier to play a team a second time because you kind of know what to expect? You kind of know how it feels and know exactly what needs to be done?
I think so. I think anytime you play a team twice in a weekend, especially when they're both away games,
Yeah, yeah,
you're kind of at they have an advantage on you because they can make the last change so they can match
absolutely.
lines. So
Yeah,
if they've done their homework on us, they know what to expect, who's producing, who's not. Um so for us to come out of there without a loss was I think, a win for our program.
Absolutely.
I think that's the first time we've ever beat Arizona State, which is something I'm super proud of, and I'm proud of the program and traveling, that far
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that soon after the winter break is never easy. So I think it was a great start to the new year.
A good chance playing good competition, a team that's had a great season so far, and someone who you well could see at nationals. So, and then you had a big home game versus Adrian, who was ranked number 2 at the time. They had a little trouble with Indiana Tech recently, so they're down to 5, but always still a really tough team. And it was a really tight 1-0 loss. It felt like both teams had chances. I know Michigan had a goal disallowed because of a kicking motion, and then Adrian had a goal where, from the press box, I swear it looked like Poneth had it stopped, and then it went in. So, what were your thoughts about that? How you competed with that Adrian team, and what were your big? What did you come away with that team versus top opponents?
Yeah, I think, that was a home game at Yost for us.
Yeah,
That's our barn, that's our arena.
absolutely.
So, we want to take a lot of pride in, like, this is our campus, this is our school. We're not, we're built a little bit differently than them.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
say that. But again, just taking a lot of pride in being able to represent the University of Michigan against some of the smaller schools that
yeah.
may not have as big of a following as we do. I think it translated on the ice really well. And yeah, the goal that was scored, I was kind of confused about myself because I thought everybody froze like they heard the whistle.
Yeah,
And I thought I heard it too.
yeah,
But I talked to the referees and they said that nobody blew the whistle. I think like he pulled the whistle up to his mouth to blow it, and then
sure,
I don't really know. I think that game could have gone either way, though. I think,
absolutely.
had we scored that first goal, had that first goal counted, I think we probably would have won that game. But
I feel like it almost was a momentum shifter when it
Yes.
was called back to where
Yep.
sometimes, especially versus a big opponent like Adrian, where you get yourself psyched up and you think you have the lead and that important first goal, and then it's called back. And it just kind of, obviously, the players are so much more resilient than I am, but it deflates me a little bit where
Yeah.
you're like, darn it. So, but all in all, a really good job versus a tough team. It absolutely could have gone either way, and it bodes well. Probably the most competitive in my team broadcasting, the Michigan team, the most competitive they've been versus that Adrian team. So good to see, and certainly if we end up seeing them on Saturday or Sunday, something that the team can take with them into the tournament, knowing that they absolutely had it one way or the other there.
For
So.
sure.
Now, before we talk about the game versus the Spartans, I feel like I do need to talk a little bit about the pre-game that honored the entire Spartan community, who is still obviously reeling from the mass shooting exactly a week ago today. There were many things done. Most kind of the biggest visual thing was with the starting laps, the teams lined up at center ice and kind of alternated Wolverine Spartan for the national anthem. Is that something you talked to Coach Blackburn about, or like how did that kind of come together?
Yeah, I think with us hosting the game, prior to last week, it was always a big game on our calendar, and I think it was
Absolutely.
always just a big game for the state of Michigan. With the events that occurred last week, the team and our team leadership, our students really took the initiative, like, hey, like, we want to do something, what can we do?
Yeah.
And then I basically explained, if we want to alternate a protocol, like the pregame protocol, like we need to make sure, like we have to draft something up. We need to make sure it's approved by Michigan State's head coach, Rob Blackburn, make sure his players approve it, because obviously they're likely more impacted than we are.
Absolutely.
So my biggest thing was like, we can do this, but we don't want to surprise them. Like, they
Yeah.
need to know what we're doing. They
Definitely.
need to be okay with it. They need to approve the wording. This is for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's for everybody, but it's mostly for them. So I think our players did a phenomenal job of writing that script up that
Absolutely.
was read. one of their ideas was meeting at the center ice and alternating. So inevitably it was, approved by Michigan State's coaching staff and the players. But I'm really proud of how our team took the initiative to want to do something for the opponent.
Absolutely. It's just reeling with something like that, and it's impressive that they even could get together and play a game after everything that happened. And it's been amazing to see the support from all across the state. Obviously,
Absolutely.
no one hopes that that'll ever happen, and there are far too many kids who've had to deal with that from Oxford now to Michigan State. But it was a wonderful time, and I applaud the team and their efforts in embracing.
Thank you.
Now, talking about, unfortunately, the last game being a loss versus the Michigan State, it was tied. So we tied at the beginning of the season 3-3, couldn't settle in overtime in a big game out in Mount Clemens. And then this one was 1-1 going into overtime before the Spartans finally scored and won that game. Does Michigan State just match up really well versus Michigan? I know no matter what the records are, it always seems to be a competitive game between the two.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to, what teams want it. And
Yeah.
both teams always want it, it seems. And yesterday they just wanted a little bit more. So, I mean, we didn't play our best. I'll be honest with that. But I think, there were a lot of emotions involved on both sides. And I
Absolutely.
think that, they wanted it more than we did.
Yeah.
And it showed. And hopefully, that was exciting for them. And I know they're in the tournament now. So
Yeah, they had to win to get in.
Yep.
Which I had not looked up the tiebreakers before the broadcast. I apologize to all the Spartans out there, but people let me know, and I'm very grateful. And yeah, they had to win to get in because Michigan Dearborn had the tiebreakers. So if you ever need motivation, that's probably the
Yep.
biggest thing to continue your season. So it'll be exciting to see what can happen now in the tournament. Both of State's goals were shots by Novell from the circle to the right, the top of the circle to the right of the goal, and they were just blast from there. Was it a shot like that? Is it hard because there's a lot of kind of traffic in front? I'm not even sure Poneth could see the shot coming, or were they just really well placed blasts of shots?
I think from rewatching the game from last night, I think defensively we lack defensive responsibilities
Sure.
on both of those plays, which when you let a player that's that skilled give her that much time,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, she's likely to capitalize. So just two defensive breakdowns, honestly, from what I saw.
Sure. And that's not an easy shot to hit from the top of the circle is a ways away, and to get it upper right-hand corner is not an easy shot. So all credit to Novell for hitting that. Unfortunately, to the dismay of all the Wolverine fans in the building, but that's all right. Who knows? Maybe we'll get another shot in the tournament. So now, you've had to deal with a few injuries throughout this, especially the second half of the season. Has anyone really surprised you and kind of stepped up to fill the gaps dealing with injured players that you want to mention?
Yeah, I think Swanson's really stepped up to start producing goals.
Yeah.
More than she had first semester.
Sure.
We knew we always had it in her, but with the mixing of the line combinations that we had initially tried at the start of the season, I think that things are starting to click
Yeah.
now, which is a great time to, continue to build. We haven't peaked yet, which is great. We've hopefully got, a handful more of games. So
Yeah.
she's somebody that's really stepped up. And I think Emily Malashevsky, just in general, she's, our top line centerman now.
Yeah.
And she's a first year player, and she's stepped up tremendously. She's super solid on face-offs, super dependable on the penalty kill. We've got her on the power play now, so she's really stepped up into a lot of those roles that we've had to fill
Yeah.
with DeCreasy falling to an injury.
So and that's a young squad, Malashevsky, Lindahl, and Swanson. But boy, they've really produced. Age doesn't matter there. They've really been lighting it up, and it's been fun to see. So
Yeah, very cool.
So taking a look coming up, Arizona State was already in the top 10. So them winning the WWCHL conference and getting to nationals really shouldn't take a spot away from anyone in the top 10. And there's only two other groups that get an automatic bye. Obviously, the CCWHA, whoever wins the tournament gets an auto bid. There's four. The top four teams are all in the top 10. So if any of those win, it won't take a spot away. And then taking a look at the other league, which would be WMCHL, which has 5 teams in the top 10. So again, if the expected people win that tournament, it should be top 10 going. But what do you think Michigan has to do in the CCWHA tournament to really make sure that they get to nationals?
I think we've got to play every game like it's our last.
Sure, yeah.
Every period like it's our last period of the season. Just have that sense of urgency every single shift.
Yeah.
Do the little things right. Yesterday we kind of broke down and got away from that a little bit, but especially practice this week, knowing that we've played Grand Valley and we're going to be playing Grand Valley again.
Yeah.
We know how they're built,
Mm-hmm.
and we know how to be successful against them, but they've also seen us and they know, what our weaknesses could be. So,
Yeah.
I think that we're just focus on one game at a time and just focus on winning and
Sure.
putting the best possible players out there in situations that they can be successful in.
Absolutely. Speaking of Grand Valley State, 5:30 on Friday over at the Crystal Field House in Burton, Michigan will be the game, Michigan versus Grand Valley State. This is the third time you've played them this month. It's really hard to beat a team 3 times. You talked a little bit about what you need to do, but what are you going to have to do as Michigan? What are they going to have to accomplish to beat Grand Valley that third time?
Yeah, like I said, do the little things
Yeah.
right. Focus on our game. Don't
Yep.
worry about the opponent.
Yeah.
We know we've got the depth to beat any team,
Yeah.
in my opinion, in the CCWHA. We beat Indiana Tech before. We know they're beatable. We could have beaten Adrian. So we need to play like we're going to win the tournament.
Absolutely.
But we're only going to get to that position one game at a time.
Absolutely.
So we're going to
Absolutely.
focus on Grand Valley. If we win, we'll focus on the next opponent, whoever that is.
Sure.
But in the meantime, we're focusing all of our time, energy, effort on that Friday game.
Makes all manner of sense. You don't want to get caught looking too forward,
Yep.
so that would be bad. So that's great. Any final thoughts kind of on this regular season before heading into the playoffs? Any other items you want to talk about before heading into the CCWHA playoffs?
I think just in general, it was, as my second season as a head coach, I think it was pretty successful. Obviously being consistently ranked in the top 10 is something significant for the program, and
Yeah.
just the attention and the momentum we've gotten and the support from, people like yourself and people that, want to be on the Michigan women's hockey bandwagon.
Absolutely.
Jump on now because the possibilities are endless for our program. This upcoming weekend and hopefully beyond, there's great things to come.
Absolutely, and we talked about it in an earlier coaches show that ended up having technical issues. But has it been now president of Michigan, Santano, has now come to, it looks like, 2 games.
Yes.
And how does that feel to have the president of the university actually post out there and show up to games and give some love to the team? Is that a little bit of confirmation about the hard work you have, or how does that feel for you and the team?
Yeah, I think it is confirmation that we're being seen, and some challenges that we've faced for many, many years in the 9 to 10 years I've been around.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he's open to conversations about them, because it's something that not only we deal with, but just club sports at Michigan in general
Absolutely.
has a lot of challenges. So I'm optimistic about things changing in the near future, whenever that may be. But it is exciting because, the University of Michigan is such a large school and he could be doing 500 other things, but
Absolutely,
he
yeah.
chose to spend 3 hours of his day at Yost Ice Arena on a Sunday. So it means a lot to me. I'm sure it means a lot to the players, but it's definitely really cool to see because he is so active on social media too. You know, when he's there, people will know that he's there.
Absolutely.
And I think that's also going to help, you know, in future years and students that may want an opportunity to play women's hockey at Michigan.
It's nice to get a little confirmation that you are important, you are playing hard, and it's a great time to watch the team. So absolutely get out if you can. We'd love to see all sorts of maize and blue people again at the Crystal Field House in Burton, starting off 5:30 on Friday. We'll broadcast the Arbor Broadcasting will broadcast the entire tournament, both D1 and D2. So keep an eye out on that, and thank you. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to talk between. Hopefully, we can get a show between the end of the CCWHA tournament and nationals, but that's something to look forward to in the future. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you for everything you do with the team, and have a great, wonderful practice, and see you on
Thank
Friday.
you. Yeah, sounds good. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thanks.
Good night, everybody.